Hey guys, Roberto here in my backyard. It's been a while since I've done a little video. I've been happily busy regarding my nursing and also my other career that I do, and that is my photography. Hence why it's Roberto Photos _ Rob Shoot, or is it Rob Shoot _ Roberto Photos? Sometimes I forget on my YouTube thingy. So on this episode of Shoot to Talk, I'm going to talk about my photography a little bit. Primarily my recent gig that I had, which was absolutely phenomenal and very humbling at the same time. I'm speaking about being the photographer for Honor Flight. For those that do not know what Honor Flight is, it's basically a nationwide event campaign, you can call it to some degree, where you get a bunch of veterans from World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War, and you take them all to Washington DC, and you primarily hit all the memorial sites for these vets. It's really cool. It's very emotional for everybody, especially for the vets. First time I did it was back in September. That was a lot of fun. Got to meet a lot of vets from all different branches, and again from those three wars. Recently, in April, I went again as the photographer up to Washington DC, and again, it's hard to explain. I mean, I'm going to post some photos as like here's a couple photos right here. Here's one of some of the vets at the Marine Memorial. There we go, the Marine Memorial. That was a lot of fun. There was a lot of Marines that came along. And then later on, our next stop was to the Arlington National Cemetery. And whew, talk about so many raw emotions there. Oh, and before I forget, the gun I'm going to be shooting is going to be my XDM Elite OSP right here, with, of course, the 35 round magazine. Let's take a couple shots right now, shall we? Now, when we got to the Arlington National Cemetery, we missed changing of the guard by a few moments, so we had to wait another 30 minutes. And and one of the challenges about this is when you have 80+ individuals who are anywhere from the late 70s to hundreds. I'm not joking. We had 2 vets from World War II that were 100. It's kind of challenging to get them out, plus also wheelchairs for those who need. And trust me, a lot of them needed it, because there's a lot of walking in this one day. Yes, one day. And I'll get to that in a few moments. So we get to Arlington. We had to wait a whole rotation, and when they were doing the changing of the guard, we found out that 2 of our vets were actually going to go on the walkway area where the sentinel is doing his 21 pacing marching till they could put the reef down. And those 2 individuals were from World War II. And again, here's a couple shots regarding the changing of the guard. And then here are a couple shots of the 2 World War II vets in front of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Unfortunately, that ate a lot of time, and everything was kind of cut short from 10 to up to 15 minutes of the sites. Lunch was at the Air Force Memorial. That was amazing to see. Then after that, we went to the Female Military Museum, and that was so cool. And that one got cut short because so many people could have been there. We also had a good handful of women that were on this trip, whether they were from that time periods or recent ones as well. Oh, and by that I meant every vet was also partnered up with a guardian to make sure everything was okay. So there was, I think in total, if I'm not mistaken, about 6 women, I believe, that served. So that was amazing. And everything again unfortunately felt a little bit rushed. We went to the World War II Memorial, which was a giant coliseum basically, and we did the big giant group shot right there that I took, and unfortunately we had to go immediately. We had to get back, we had to get on the buses and go. So again, like I said, unfortunately the Arlington National Cemetery ate a good chunk of our time. I know the next flight, which is coming up on May 20th, there's going to be little changes here and there on certain spots where to go to and time wise. Now the second trip this year, which I just mentioned, May 20th, is going to be a lot of fun for me on a very personal level. Shame a little low. I say it's going to be very personal because my dad's going to be going on this trip coming up on the 20th. Originally we were supposed to go on the October flight one, but unfortunately the hurricane screwed all that up, and that kind of sucked because the October flight was October 8th, 4 days after he turned 85. So that would have been like almost a perfect birthday gift. And he was supposed to go recently, 2 weeks ago, to this current one, the last one, but unfortunately he had to get a foot operation. Nothing major, just a little taking care of a big toe incident. So no way he could have walked the 9 mile plus. So fortunately, there's the 20th. So everything's all set. He has the Guardian already matched up with him. Fantastic. Can't wait to meet him. Again, I can't, as much as I would love to be the Guardian with my dad, I'm going to be too busy photographing the whole event. So again, it's going to be very emotional for everybody. And one of the things that these vets do not know is that when they come back from this trip, from this day trip, at the airport, here in the Fort Myers airport, there are hundreds of people at the airport, whether it's family, friends, or just people in general saying thank you to these vets, because most of these vets did not get a welcome home that they should have deserved during the wars. And again, here's just a few shots at the airport. Again, it is packed. You get the color guard from both the Collier County and Lee County there. Fantastic. You got people playing the bagpipes. It is, again, truly a remarkable thing to see. And again, these vets, when they are coming out of the airplane and getting the applause, getting the welcome back, thank you for your service, the emotions really come out of them. As I mentioned, this is a day trip, so it is kind of crazy. So Lee County and Collier County have designated spots where the veterans and the Guardians can meet up, and then they are on a chartered bus and escorted by the respective law enforcement to the Fort Myers airport, which is really cool. The other option is where the vet is dropped off by a loved one, or sometimes the Guardian could pick up the vet at their personal home and drive to the airport. In my case, I'm actually going to be staying at my dad's house. We have to wake up really early in the morning to be at the airport, and by really early in the morning we have to be there by 4 o'clock in the morning to take off on the chartered airplane, which is, again, thank you very much for the people who sponsor this flight for the vets. It's amazing. So we get there, we usually get there like around 9:30, and again, as soon as we get there, we're on to go. We get the vets, we help them to the buses, and there are 4 buses: red, white, blue, and green buses, and everybody's assigned to them, and there's always a check, make sure everybody's on there at every stop and what have you not. And thank goodness for the food is also provided. Thank you very much for Mission Barbecue and Chick-fil-A. Those were the 2 ones that helped supported the food for this travel recently. I think they're doing it again. Thank you again, Mission Barbecue and Chick-fil-A. Phenomenal food. So, a couple couple more shots. And if you're ever interested in participating in Honor Flight, check if it's in your local area. Trust me, they're always looking for volunteers, guardians. It's a wonderful thing, and for somebody like me who's a history minor, or who has a history minor when I went to college, it's so awesome to pick the brains out of these vets, because they're so willing to share those stories. They're so willing to tell what they had to go through. And again, I'm looking forward to the 20th. Oh, and before I forget, if you are in the Virginia, Washington, D.C. or whatever, definitely check out the Korean Memorial. They just finished it a couple months ago. Last time I was there in September, it wasn't finished. They still had a few things there, but now it is completely done, and it looks beautiful. Very well respected to the men and women who served in the Korean War. Phenomenal. So again, guys, that's it for Shoot to Talk. Tell me what you think. And again, if you see a vet, make sure you thank them. Lord knows I'm going to be thanking my dad. Well, I thank him every time when I see him. And again, it's going to be a very emotional day on the 20th when we go up to Washington, D.C. QA all the way.